Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Steven Universe Retrospectives. So we've wrapped up our look at the original Steven Universe series and we've taken a look at Steven Universe the movie. However, we are not done with these vlogs just yet, as today we are going to begin taking a look at the epilogue series to Steven Universe Future. Now when it comes down to opinions of this series, you'll find that they tend to vary. There's no real universal constant for how Steven Universe Future is viewed. Some fans love it, some fans hate it. Some fans think it's a great finale and ended the series exactly where they wanted it to, while others felt that it was completely unnecessary and that ultimately Steven Universe should have ended with the original series. Basically, when it comes down to Steven Universe Future, your mileage may vary and opinions are very divisive. I myself go into the love it category of the show, mostly because of the subject matter with Steven Universe Future. But yeah, essentially, Steven Universe Future is one of those shows that is kind of all over the map in terms of whether people think it's good or bad. However, we're gonna kind of put all that aside for now, as when it comes down to Steven Universe as a show, Steven Universe Future is still connected to it, especially since, like with Steven Universe the movie, it was included in the complete collection DVD, which is what I've been looking at the original series on when I did these vlogs. Ergo, considering that Steven Universe Future does continue the story from the original series, and to some people it's considered like an unofficial 6th season, even though even the crew have admitted it's not a 6th season, I'm still going to be doing them as part of the original vlogs. Some longtime viewers may be confused by that, especially since when I did my Ben 10 vlogs, I separated the original series and Alien Force, but like I said, considering the connections between this and the original series, I feel it's only appropriate, so there you go. But with that said, what about the series makes me like it? What makes me look at Steven Universe Future and think, yep, I'll give this a thumbs up? Well, let's start taking a look at it and find out. And of course, just like with the original Steven Universe series, I'm going to be looking at this series 2 episodes at a time. So likewise, we're probably going to get done with this show in 10 weeks. So for those of you who don't like it, guess what? The pain is only temporary. So anyway, with that all out of the way, let's take a look at the first 2 episodes of Steven Universe Future, Little Homeschool and Guidance. And Little Homeschool actually begins with Steven essentially introducing the new status quo. Yeah, just as the first episodes of Steven Universe essentially established what the situation was for that show, who the characters were, and what was going on, it's a similar thing with Steven Universe Future. Albeit this time around, you already know who the characters are, it's just getting you updated on what's happening to them now that things have changed. And how we get that update is, well, through Steven talking to another gem. Basically, how the episode actually begins is that we see that Steven has kind of gotten a little system in place for whenever a corrupted gem needs to be restored. As within the cupboard of his bathroom, he has 3 vials that contain what I'm assuming are the essences of blue, yellow, and white diamond. And he just mixes them into his bathtub, and then after giving a little bit of himself in there, he just drops a gem in and they're restored. Albeit when corrupted gems are brought back, they're not exactly how they were before. While their semblance of self is back and they retain their personalities and memories and so forth, their time as monsters is iffy, to say the least, and they still have physical manifestations of their time being corrupted. Most likely because even though the damage is healed, there are some bits and pieces that aren't healed, which again feeds back into how the corruption was tied to emotional problems and mental break. But whatever. My point is this: Steven has just restored a new gem, and while he's talking to this new gem, he explains what the situation is in Beach City now. And sure enough, yeah, Steven Universe Future does take place sometime after the events of the movie, as Little Homeworld has now been completed, and it turns out that Steven and the Crystal Gems have established a little school there called, well, Little Homeschool. And the whole purpose of Little Homeschool is just to educate gems on Earth culture and about, well, finding themselves, so to speak. Garnet teaches whatever, basically just various classes that help gems just, be aligned, find themselves, just, or reorient themselves after going through after dealing with the stresses of daily life, which makes sense. Pearl teaches classes introducing gems to Earth technology and how they operate. operate. And Amethyst, well, Amethyst just teaches gems how to, enjoy themselves, so to speak. But the thing is, those are not the only classes there. There are classes on forging, there are classes on art, there are classes on plants, and basically the B team of Crystal Gems are in charge of those things, but there's just a plethora of activities all around Little Homeschool that a gem can do, and can pretty much just look at, and then just essentially, put simply, the Little Homeschool just encourages new gems to pick a direction, and then just keep walking, and they'll help guide you along the way. So, it's, again, a little nice thing. And on top of that, we do learn a bit more about the supporting cast of Steven Universe, which Steven continues expositing on. And basically, it turns out that Lars, after returning to Earth, actually managed to open his own bakery with a space theme on it. Sadie is still flying high with Sadie killing the suspects to the point where they're actually out on tour. And Connie herself is actually studying to get into college, which, while she won't get in there for a while, as Steven explains, she's just kind of doing it because she wants to get a head start. So, everyone seems to be doing well. And after Steven shows this new gem, who I'm sorry, I'm not going to name her specifically because she's not a major character and I still don't remember the name that was given to her. But put simply, after Steven drops her off with Amethyst class, whose lesson of the day is just to spend an hour doing whatever the hell they want, Steven and Amethyst just kind of leave Little Homeschool to just get a drink and enjoy themselves. Which once they're sitting down, the Amethyst just compliments Steven for getting this whole thing ready. But as they're talking about how the Little Homeschool has helped so many gems, Steven laments that there is still one gem that, well, is not going with the program, which Amethyst tells Steven to just kind of brush it off as he can't fix everyone's problems, and even if he feels responsible, it's ultimately he can't save everyone, which Steven pretends to concede to that point, but once he's alone, he does end up venturing off to meet with this gem. Who is it? Well, deep within the forest surrounding Beach City and Little Homeworld, there is a cave. Not a natural cave, clearly just made from whatever rocks that this person could find. Surrounding the cave used to be a grove of trees, but they've all been torn down. The grass has been pulled out of the ground, and by the mouth of the cave, there is a pile of rocks. And, well, once Steven steps onto this land, the owner of this cave tells him to not take another step further. And we soon see who this gem that Steven has not been able to help is. Jasper. Yep, Jasper's still being a stubborn little git, because she is very much not ready to, because pretty much, while she has essentially given up on wanting to kill Steven, since it's been revealed that Rose Quartz, since it's now public knowledge that Rose Quartz was Pink Diamond, and that Steven is not his mother, he's a completely separate entity, but yet likewise he still has her, whatever. My point is, while she's given up wanting to kill Steven, she doesn't respect him. Not one iota. She thinks his idea of opening the Little Homeschool is a stupid plan. She thinks that Steven still continues to use gems by grabbing them at their weakest, and ultimately she makes it clear that while Steven may hold the rank of a diamond considering his gemstone, ultimately she finds him to be a weak little pissant, which does kind of get to Steven. Regardless, it's clear that Steven does make it a regular activity to come out to Jasper's land and, talk to her, see how she's doing, what's going on, and if possible, try to convince her to go to Little Homeschool so she can, find some way to grow and move on. But Jasper is Jasper, and she pretty much just goes fuck that at every opportunity. She puts up the boulders because she considers it training, as she gives her an excuse to practice her throwing arm, as well as, breaking everything down. Sorry if you hear anything outside, that's the garbage man. But basically, she is not interested in making friends, and she finds the whole idea of what Steven's doing idiotic at best. As such, as she continues talking down to Steven and yelling him and says that he's just a weakling, and saying how weak he is, Steven finally just snaps at her and says that basically everything that she's doing here is all her fault. She's isolating herself. Yeah, she's isolated, but Steven's not the one that isolated her, and a lot of her problems stem from herself, especially considering her new status. Because, like all the other corrupted gems, she does still show signs that she was corrupted, as you can see some splotches of color that don't match up with her general aesthetic, and she does have horns coming out of her head. And basically Steven compares her corruption to the rest by saying at least the rest of the gems were corrupted in a diamond blast. Jasper herself got corrupted just to win a fight, which she lost. to Steven, nonetheless. Point is, Steven just continues calling Jasper out and saying that she could grow, she could be so much better, but she's constantly holding herself back, and it's her own damn fault, and basically, ultimately, while she talks about big game, at the end of the day, she's just holding herself back. Again, this reignites Jasper's thing as she continues yelling at Steven and calls him weak, and that basically, if he so desperately wants her to have a purpose, then what, if she won't, so yeah. Put simply, if he wants to keep coming at her and chewing her out, then she can do it, but he's just wasting his time. But if he really wants Jasper to do something, then ultimately she can challenge her to a fight, because after all, she does want to still stay in top shape. So at the very least, if Steven wants to prove that if Steven wants to prove he's worthy of being a diamond, at the very least he can prove it to her in a fight. So Steven just says, "Okay, fine, I'll fight you." Which the instant that Steven says that, Jasper lights up. I mean, like, honestly, she lights up. She just looks back at him and says, "Really?" And she just has the biggest, goofiest smile on her face. And yeah, Steven is serious. He tells her that he'll fight her. And Jasper says, "Okay, fine, then throw the first punch, kid." And so Steven does. And it does push Jasper back a little, at which point she just smiles and rushes at Steven. And the two of them get into a hearty round of fisticuffs, which is a nice way of saying they get into an epic fight. Of course, Steven is mostly trying to play defensively, throwing up his bubble, dodging her attacks, and even trying to help out the local animal life that they end up disturbing in the middle of their fight. But Jasper continues throwing her all into the fight, just constantly putting pressure on Steven, telling him to not focus on everyone else, to just to keep fighting. And Steven says he's never going to stop wanting to help others, and he's never going to stop wanting to help Jasper. At which point she yells at him and even manages to pin him to the ground with her foot and just kind of talk about how he's weak and how, yes, he may have beaten her in previous battles, but that was with the help of others, with fusions. Put simply, by himself, he's weak, he's useless, and basically he has no one to blame for that little thing but himself. Kind of a nice little way of rounding out how Steven called her out. But Jasper's words do seem to have an effect on Steven, as he starts glowing pink. And with his new change of hue, he manages to throw Jasper off of him and basically get back up. And as Jasper sees this new power up, she does get more excited and actually starts laughing a little. But yeah, it turns out this new pink power seems to be, like with all the other rest of Steven's powers, they do seem to be linked to his emotions, because Steven starts getting a lot more serious as he actually does start throwing a few punches, and they actually seem to be knocking Jasper off her kilter. And throughout the whole thing, Steven is just yelling at her, saying, "I'm not weak, I'm not useless," and it's clear that this is not the nice, kind Steven universe that we are familiar with. This kid is angry, and he wants to take that all out on Jasper. So much so that even as he uppercuts her as he chucks her right into the air and she's still laughing, he just gets so pissed off that he yells at her and tells her to stop laughing, as he flies up to her and just manages to knock her around a few times until he manages to land one final blow that throws her into the ground, creating a Jasper-shaped indent in the earth. However, upon seeing that, it does seem to snap Steven out of what's come over him, and the pink hue fades away as he goes to check on Jasper. But it's Jasper, she's fine, and she even tells Steven that she didn't think he had it in him, and while he does keep trying to apologize, at the same time, he quickly starts realizing something's clearly up here. There's that power-up that was new, I don't know what that was, but you're the one that helped bring it out. And as such, Steven asks Jasper, would she be willing to be a teacher? Of course, he doesn't mean at the little homeschool, like a personal tutor to him. As like I said, that only came out when Jasper started throwing insults at Steven, so he begins wondering, maybe Jasper could help him, refine that, power it up, figure out exactly what it is. But Jasper's response is, well, consider that fight your first and last lesson. Which pretty much it's basically the nice way of saying not interested. But Steven does ask if he can still come back, and Jasper just tells him, do whatever you want, and walks away. As such, the episode ends with Steven continuing to lament how there are still more things about him that he doesn't know, and that, while he might know himself, there's always little surprises around every corner, and it's always so interesting discovering those things. So, yeah, it's clear that while the big battle may be over, there's still much that Steven needs to learn. And so the episode ends as we see the gem that Steven restored at the beginning of the episode, meeting with Steven and wanting to get her schedule approved for classes, and Steven signing his name happily. So, Yeah, that's that. But, of course, that also leads us to the next episode, Guidance. And we've seen more, and basically, Guidance shows, it does do a little bit more world building, while also kind of expanding on what's going on with Little Homeschool. As we learn in Guidance, that Amethyst has essentially done a human gem work internship program and set up. Basically, what's going on is that Amethyst has been talking with some of the various gems around Little Homeschool, and put simply, managed to get them human jobs. Like, there's this one gem who was who was like a crab monster before, who in her normal form has just like a crab hand, and who's very good at cutting. So as such, she has a job at Fish Stew Pizza, cutting up ingredients and slicing up pizza, which she's very good at. On top of that, yeah, Amethyst has managed to get a few rubies, got rubies to act as the personal bodyguards to Nanaflaw, replacing her original guards, which, you know what, that's an upgrade. That's a genuine upgrade. Those guys were next to useless. And then likewise, we see that all around Beach City, that gems are finding new jobs. Basically, Amethyst has managed to get all the Quartz soldiers to work at Funland, pretty much earning Mr. Smiley some much-deserved downtime. And likewise, there's a Nephrite who is being taught skywriting by Andy, and even two other gems by the name of Snowflake and Little Larimar, who, yes, are crystal gems that Jasper knew, who are basically handing out snow cones and making ice sculptures for people. It all seems well and good, but as Steven continues looking at Amethyst's idea, and he recognizes the merit in it, he starts wondering if maybe she's going about it the right way. Because after all, some of these jobs feel very similar to the jobs they had on Homeworld. I mean, you have rubies guarding people, you have an army of amethysts manning Funworld, and even Snowflake and Larimar are doing ice-related things, which is what they did on Homeworld. Because Snowflake mentions that she created ice trenches for battles, and Snowflake made ice sculptures for the diamonds. So maybe Steven thinks that what if they stepped out of their comfort zones a little? Found different jobs not associated with what they used to do on Homeworld. And basically, Amethyst thinks that this is a stupid idea because, after all, these are jobs that these gems picked out themselves. So doesn't seem like a nice thing to do to just take them out. But Steven just tells Amethyst, it's okay. They just think they want these jobs. If we put them in new situations, they'll be able to learn more about themselves and yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Yeah, this is a powder keg just waiting to go off. As such, Steven does begin assigning different gems to different places. He gets Snowflake to do skywriting in place of Nephrite, who Nephrite gets put in charge of making snow cones. He puts little Larimar in working at Funland, having her man a roller coaster, which does lead to a genuinely funny scene where she mentions how she loves the sound of humans screaming in relation to the sounds people make when they're riding on the roller coaster, and they make it sound as creepy as possible with her, so I dig that. It's fun. But likewise, he continues changing things up as he has Quartz soldiers working at the pizzeria, at the Fish Stew Pizza, or instead of the crab one, he has the crab gem handing out balloons, which she seems to be doing well at, as she's able to at least control her claw and not pop the balloon. So, that's fun. So, that seems to be working out. And likewise, instead of having the rubies guarding Nanaflaw, he just has them selling flowers. So, yeah, it's not gonna go well. And when things do go wrong, as when Steven does take a moment to try and relax and think, my job here is done, all hell breaks loose. The Jaspers have absolutely no idea how to slice, make, or deliver pizza, as they just throw in hunks of cheese, meat, and sauce into boxes, and then just chuck the boxes at people. Ruby is just outright just stealing people's cash when handing out flowers. At one point, the crab gem gets knocked in the face and accidentally pops a balloon, and when she tries grabbing another one, she slices the string that she was using to hold the balloons. And likewise, Snowflake is so nervous flying in the sky that eventually she ends up freezing over the plane itself. And kind of going in that same vein, Larimar is even doing terribly, as she wound up amping up the speed on the roller coaster so much that it's now out of control, and the switch that would slow it down is stuck. So yeah, things are just going to hell in a handbasket. As such, Steven, realizing that he kind of dropped the ball, manages to find Amethyst in the Funland arcade, and he does apologize that he took over her idea like he did, and so basically the two of them decide to work together to try and fix what Steven broke. And as such, the first things first, there are people in danger right now, they gotta save them. As such, Steven and Amethyst manage to fuse together and form a Smoky Quartz, which I'm liking Smokey's new design here, as Something I forgot to mention when it comes to Steven's new design is that in place of him having the red T-shirt, and in place of Steven having the red T-shirt, he now has different colored shirts. In Steven Universe the movie, he had a blue T-shirt, and in Steven Universe Future, he has a black T-shirt. Both of them still have the star on them, like we know, but he does have another added accessory, a pink jacket that he wore in both series, which was intentionally added because Steven's voice actor, Zach Gallison, did go around wearing a jacket, and basically Rebecca Sugar thought that it would be nice if older Steven had one to match. So, that's kind of cool. Point is, when Steven and Amethyst fuse into Smoky Quartz, that jacket ends up getting wrapped around her waist. So, that's cool. But either way, Smokey is able to save Andy and Snowflake from crashing the plane into the beach, but then likewise, when she tries running to Funland to save the people, well, that's not going to work. It's clear it's clear she's not going to make it in time, as the damage to the tracks on the roller coaster has been so bad that they've literally just come undone. And likewise, the roller coaster is heading for one of those undone things right now. And that if nothing is done, then the roller coaster and everyone on board it will be chucked right into the sea. As such, Smokey tries running to get them, but it's clear she's not going to make it in time. And so she keeps pushing herself, saying, come on, if Steven could do this, I can save these people. But then likewise, she starts arguing with herself. Basically, one side is Amethyst trying to hype them all up and try and figure out what to do next, while the other side is Steven panicking and having no idea what to do. And basically, as Smokey continues arguing with herself, one side saying, come on, we can do this, we gotta figure out what to do. The other side is saying, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, just give me a second. But in the midst of all this stressing out, one of Smokey's gems begins glowing. Specifically, her belly button gem, the one that would be Steven's gem. And likewise, just like in the last episode, Smokey ends up glowing pink. Only this time, the power-up that we get is not a strength boost, it's a speed boost. As Smokey finds herself being able to move so fast that everything around her is super slow in comparison. Which, as a result, that does end up giving her the edge she needs, as she ends up running to Funland and manages to get in front of the roller coaster just like before it can fly out. And so from her perspective, she now has plenty of time as she just begins getting people out of the roller coaster and puts them down back on the dock. As such, from there, it should be a simple matter of getting to the roller coaster and stopping it, but at that point the pink power-up wears off and the roller coaster still flies into the sea. Though Smokey at least says, well, at least we saved everybody. But either way, the episode then cuts ahead to that evening as the sun is going down. And Amethyst is just geeking out over the pink power-up, and Steven, of course, has no idea what it is, but hey, it helped them save the day, so it should still be cool. But likewise, Steven does continue apologizing for how he hijacked Amethyst's plan, and Amethyst does state that the thing is, she didn't just pick randomly. Like she said, these are jobs that all of the gems chose for themselves, and Amethyst did talk with all of the gems and figure out what jobs they would probably prefer and be good at. So these are things that they did choose themselves, and yeah, they may still be very similar to what they did on Homeworld, but if they're enjoying themselves, then what's the harm done? And sure enough, yeah, all the gems that Steven reassigned do go back to the original jobs. The crab gem ends up going back to working at Fish Stew Pizza. The rubies go back to guarding Nanafwa, and it's just basically everyone's back to where they belong, and everything seems to be alright. But we do see that Steven's merit of taking people out of their comfort zone wasn't entirely wrong either, because while Steven and Amethyst are just sitting down and chatting, little Larimar comes up and gives Steven a stuffed teddy bear. Why? It's a thank you for him getting her the job at Funland. As it turns out, there is something about Funland that she does enjoy. She likes seeing the children happy there. And as a result, she's now gotten a job at Funland, rather than manning any of the rides, she's now handing out prizes. And she basically just revels in seeing the children happy and laughing. She even says it reminds her of the screaming. But either way, she's just happy that she's found something that makes her that she enjoys, and basically she's just happy that the kids like her. It's really sweet, and I dig it. On the whole, while Amethyst wasn't wrong in giving the jobs that she did to the gems, at the same time Steven wasn't entirely wrong either. It's just he kind of went about it the wrong way. So there you go. Lessons are learned all around. Also, at the end, we learned that there was one person on the roller coaster that they missed. It was Onion, who was still alive. And at first, while Steven freaks out, he sees him just casually riding by in what's left of the roller coaster, he's like, he's fine. And so, yeah, that's the end of the episode. So, my thoughts on these episodes. Well, first, let's talk about Little Homeschool. And essentially, like I said, Little Homeschool is just here to essentially establish the new status quo for Steven Universe Future, which, again, I'm okay with. Something that I do something that I do genuinely enjoy when it comes to like certain finales to shows, are that those finales tend to have like a major groundbreaking change to the status quo. With like kind of going here an example at the end of the Sandman comics, which spoilers for Sandman, for Neil Gaiman's Sandman. If you don't want to be spoiled for it, turn away now. But yeah, at the end of Neil Gaiman's Sandman, the original Dream of the Endless died, and a new Dream of the Endless came into being. And as a result, and something I kind of, and the thing is, part of that, when it comes down to the reincarnation of the Endless, they all tend, it's essentially like Time Lord regeneration in Doctor Who. The new incarnation has all the memories and experiences of the previous one, but it's also a completely separate person with their own drives and motivations and so forth. So as a result, that's the part. Well, that's where the story of the Sandman ended. At the same time, I do kind of like seeing more stuff with this new version of Dream of the Endless, because I kind of want to see how things are changed with having him in the role rather than the previous guy. And it's a similar case here with Steven Universe. After all, we had our status quo for the original series for the longest time. And while there were changes to the formula here and there, the things that kind of went differently in Beach City, different people going to different roles and so forth, that one baseline status quo was the same all throughout the show. But then likewise, at the very end of the series, we got a major change. In this case, with the diamonds now on Steven's side, he was able to restore all the corrupted gems, or at least most of them. The fact that he's still curing gems 2 years later does seem to imply that there are still corrupted gems out there. It's just that rather than bubbling them and throwing them into a room for God knows how long, they just bubble them and then give them to Steven so he can properly restore them. So I do like that, but at the very least, with such a big status quo change, it made me wonder, how is the world going to develop now that these gems are back? Now that the big war is over, now that the bad guys now want to be on the same side as the hero, what would happen now? What's going to happen next? And basically, Steven Universe Future showcases that, as we see a world where humans and gems are now learning to coexist with one another on Earth, and we see a gem hierarchy where gems are just, free to do whatever they want, and are educated in being able to do that. Because which makes sense. When it came down to the gem hierarchy previously, essentially most all gems that appeared in that lived in that hierarchy were kind of indoctrined in that way of life. That was all they knew. And keep in mind that when it came down to gems who grew up in that regard, they had to be deprogrammed, so to speak, with Peridot being a prime example. She was a gem who started out as an enemy and truly believed in the gem doctrines, but little by little, as she spent time with Steven and the crystal gems, she wound up learning new things and started realizing, okay, maybe the way I was thinking before wasn't a good thing. So at the very least, I like the idea that they have established this whole school for gems to help integrate them into not only human society, but into the new status quo for the Gem Empire in Era 3. So I dig that. It's nice. I like seeing that all the different aspects of Little Homeschool, how the crystal gems are keeping themselves busy now that there aren't any major fights left to fight. After all, okay, there's probably still corrupted gems that they need to gather whenever they pop up, but it's clear that those gems are now fewer and far between. And the thing is, they probably have a little bit of extra help. After all, it's not just Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl against the world now. They have the B team again, and thing is, it's not just homeworld gems that were restored. There are also crystal gems as well, and considering that now all of them are fighting on the same team, odds are any of them could help if they wanted. So, again, it makes the job a whole lot easier, and this allows for more free time for our main characters, not only to educate new gems, but to pursue their own passions and so forth. So, again, I like that. I like seeing that status quo continue being established. I like seeing how Steven explains it and how it goes. What I even continue liking is that while those things are set up and pretty much are giving answers to what happened to all these major aspects of the original series now that it's over, there are still plot threads being laid. After all, while Little Homeschool is meant to be the answer to helping gems just essentially integrate into this new way of life, there are still problems that arise. And one of those problems is Jasper. And this is the thing. When this show started, many people wanted to see Jasper get a redemption arc, something that I wholeheartedly believed was not possible. Jasper was one of the few. Jasper was meant to be, in my opinion, was meant to be one of the examples of someone who just didn't want to be helped. Because when it comes to wanting to help people, that's a noble thing. Wanting to help people, that's great. But you can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped. And Jasper never wanted to be helped. She never thought that there was anything wrong with her. And likewise, the only reason that she stopped trying to kill Steven was when she learned that he was the son of Pink Diamond, not a Rose Quartz, that Pink Diamond was Rose Quartz and set the whole thing up, and that Steven's in good graces with the Diamonds. That stopped her from wanting to end his life. But that doesn't mean she likes the kid now. No. She still hates him. Not because he's the son of the rebel leader of the Crystal Gems. No. It's because he's the son of a diamond and she thinks he's a weakling. Consider this. Every single time they fought, she wasn't wrong about how Steven, every time he beat her, was a fusion. When he first fought her, when he first got into a proper fight with her, he beat her when he was fused with Connie and they were Stevani. After that, he was fused with Amethyst into Smoky Quartz. And then, so basically, when it came down to it, any fight that Steven and Jasper had, Steven only won because he had someone to fuse with. On his own, basically Jasper thinks that he's a weakling, that he holds himself back, that he could be capable of so much more, but he doesn't let himself, and she just scoffs at that. So it makes sense why she wouldn't want that, which I'll get more into Jasper's character as we continue along through the series, but put simply, I feel like that this is a realistic outcome for her, that she would put up resistance, especially since she still very much wants to keep fighting. Part of the reason why she secluded herself and distanced herself as much as she has is because she thinks that what Steven is doing is ultimately making the gems weaker rather than stronger, even despite the fact that a good chunk of the gems that are at Little Homeschool are gems that fought alongside her in the Gem War. And so basically, she looks at all this and thinks, what if something else happens? I need to be prepared for that. Fighting is literally all she knows. Strength is what she respects. And ultimately, she has no purpose, but she doesn't want a new purpose. This is what she's content to do. She's content to fight. This is what she wants to do. Kind of going what we learned in Guidance. Fighting is Jasper's whole purpose. This is her way of life. This is what she finds thrill in. Keep in mind, the only reason that she wanted to form Malachite again with Lapis was because she loved the power boost that came from it. When she finally gained full control over the fusion, she had fun whooping Alexandrite's ass and utilizing the full potential of both her own abilities combined with Lapis's. She loved the fight. She loved the thrill. She is a gem that thrives on battle. And basically, in a world where battle is no longer important, what is there for her? As a result, and basically just prepare for the next one. Which I find intriguing, as while she's not satisfied in her day-to-day life, she's not abandoning her purpose, because her purpose is what makes her happy. It's what gives her joy. Keep in mind, when Steven said he would finally fight her, she just lit up like a Christmas tree. She was like, oh boy, someone I can fight? And the thing is, Steven's a diamond. Even if she doesn't respect him, she at least thinks that if he's challenging her, maybe he'll put up a good fight. And when Steven did end up powering up and started actually wanting to fight back against Jasper, she wasn't angry she was losing. She was actually just thrilled that she could have a good fight, which I like. I very much like. But at the end of the fight, she and Steven aren't friends. It is made clear that there is still a burgeoning, small bit of grudging respect, as Jasper saw a taste of Steven's power, but she can also tell that he's still holding back. And basically, it's clear that if Jasper wants to have a proper fight with Steven, he needs to let go a little bit more. That's what she wants. But considering who Steven is, that's not going to be something that's going to happen lightly. And so as a result, while she was satisfied with what happened, she does make it clear that while she won't stop Steven from seeing her, if he truly wants to continue testing these powers out against her, well, she wants him to be serious. So I do still like that. And basically, at the end of the day, Little Homeschool the purpose of the little homeschool episode is just to, well, begin the series properly. It sets up the new status quo for what we're going to be seeing throughout the rest of Steven Universe Future, while also dropping new plot threads that can be picked up and wrapped up that can be picked up and examined later. Like, we got the stuff with Jasper and how she's still very much distant with people. We got this thing with Steven and the pink power-up, which Steven doesn't fully understand and ultimately wants to learn to control. Pretty much just showcasing that, yeah, while a good chunk of the issues that we saw before have been fixed and healed, at the end of the day, there's still more going on, and well, and ultimately what we're going to be seeing when it comes to when the series continues on, we're going to be seeing those plot threads be followed more. So again, it's a decent start, and I do think it's a good way of essentially grabbing a longtime viewer and helping introduce them to this new setting. So overall, a decent episode. But then likewise if I have to give crap to Little Homeschool, it will be this. It does feel a little overly familiar. Now, to be in the defense of the episode, when the episode starts, it's going in expecting you to know what's going on. It's a similar case with Steven Universe, but whereas Steven Universe at least was able to spoon feed you more aspects of the world, this one essentially just throws you into the deep end of the pool and expects you to know how to swim. Which, again, in the defense of the show, it's an epilogue. The whole reason this exists is because it's meant to be a proper wrap-up for the original series, so it makes sense why they would just pretty much say, okay, we're just going to give you an update, now move along, we got more plot going on. So, yeah, there is a little bit of rushed nature into it, and it does expect you to know more than you need to, but otherwise, you can still mount a proper defense. As a result, that's why I'm still keeping it as a decent episode. It's not amazing, but it's a decent start, and I am still intrigued. But anyway, then we go on to Guidance, and this one definitely dips more into the zanier aspects of Steven Universe, while continuing to build on the world. As likewise, we see Amethyst, well, trying to find the gem's new purposes and doing it in actually a pretty decent way. As when it comes to Amethyst, what she wants to do is just find the gem, which is give the gems something that she didn't have, a place that they can belong, which makes sense. Unlike Amethyst, all of these gems did have a purpose once upon a time. They had a lot in life, something that they were good at that they wanted to keep doing. But now that the war is over and the gem caste system has been broken up, what is there for them to do now? I mean, yeah, they can do whatever they want, but for many of them, what they did was exactly what they liked. They weren't content to be what they were. Keep in mind, while some gems weren't exactly happy with where they were, other gems were. Kind of going back to when our Ruby was just a plain old Ruby guard, she and the other Rubies just reveled in being able to beat up rebels and kick ass, which was their entire purpose in life. That's what they like to do. And so likewise, while our Ruby did step out of that, it's clear that not all Rubies thought the same way and do genuinely enjoy just, kicking ass, because that's what they're good at. And likewise, it's a similar case for other gems. Even if they do end up finding interest outside of what they were designed for, they're still technically pretty close to what they were. Keep in mind, when Bismuth got broken out of her rut, so to speak, she still forged things. It's just that before she used to just build structures that basically would show the opulence and grandeur of the homeworld elites. But now she's using those exact same skills to forge weapons. Again, it's different, but still within her realm, but still within her comfort zone, so to speak. It's something she chose, but it's still something that she's familiar with. So, again, you can understand why Amethyst chose the jobs that she did for the gems, and so I do admit it is kind of net, and again, it feeds into the world building, because one, it does showcase more about how gems and humans are kind of learning to integrate their societies together, as gems are finding places in human society that they are content and are happy, and likewise we see humans being more familiar with gems and essentially accepting them and allowing them to continue working in these things. Because before anyone asks, no, it's not slavery. They are working. They are actually working. They have actual jobs, and they do what they do because they like it. They like it. Okay? Which kind of going off of that, I love that the Nephrite we saw in the episode was essentially a perfectionist. Because, yeah, basically she would always try and do sky drawings with Andy's biplane, but if she made even the littlest mistake, she would cross it out using the same material she made that she did the drawing with, and then just start over. Which I find hilarious. I love that. I love that. But likewise, again, I do like seeing that bit of world building in this episode, essentially seeing this program in action. And then likewise, so when Steven tries intervening and takes everyone out of their comfort zones to have them do other jobs, yeah, like I said, this is a powder keg waiting to go off. Because after all, these are gems were designed for specific things, who are used to doing these specific things, like doing these specific things, now being thrown into positions outside of that, and now and then essentially it leads to chaos, and yeah, it's fun. I love it. I love seeing everything go wrong. I love seeing the courts just making haphazard pizzas and then chucking them at random people. I love seeing the Ruby guard just outright robbing people. It's amazing. I love it. I love seeing Larimar lose control of the roller coaster. I love seeing Snowflake flying through the air and screaming. It's fun. It's all good stuff. I dig it. It's actually really nice. And likewise when Smokey Quartz goes in to try and fix everything, I love how she's just in full panic mode. Like when she saves Snowflake and Andy from crashing, she acts overly casual, like, "Hey guys, you just need to chill, right? I get it, chill." But seriously, I'm so sorry. Are you guys okay? I love that. It's fun. But at the same time, at the end of the episode, there is lessons to be learned. That yes, sometimes it is good to step out of your comfort zone and try new things, but there's nothing wrong with sticking to what you know, especially if it's something you enjoy. And and we see that with all of the gems that end up going back to their jobs. Yes, they're still kind of in similar ruts that they were on Homeworld, but it's still their choice to do these things. And again, no one's forcing them to do it. These are things they just like to do and have fun doing. They're good at these things. They enjoy doing them. And even if it's very similar to what it was like, it's the big difference between then and now. No one's forcing them to do it. They're doing these jobs because they want to do them. If anything, the way Steven was going about just throwing them at random jobs was more akin to what the Diamonds were doing before rather than what Steven was attempting to do. So, I like that, but at the same time, they do still showcase the benefits of stepping out of your comfort zone with Larimar. Because yeah, while she wasn't good at manning the rides, she genuinely found joy in seeing people excited at the theme park. She enjoyed hearing people's screams when they were riding at top speeds and having fun. She enjoys handing out gifts to kids and hearing them smile and seeing them smile and laugh. She genuinely, yes, it was stepping outside of her comfort zone, but by doing that, she did find something she liked. It's just that what she liked was essentially, let me put it this way. How she was able to discover something that she liked was, yes, by stepping out of her comfort zone, but by only doing it on her terms, just a little bit. Likewise, Steven put her in a position where she could very easily screw up, because she knew nothing about manning the rides. She didn't know anything about how they operated, and likewise, in her attempts to try and hear people's screams, she pushed it over the edge, and the screams of excitement turned to screams of panic, and she quickly went, oh shit, I gotta fix this. That was caused because she got thrown into a situation she knew nothing about. But then, likewise, in comparison, when she found a different job at Funland, it was in a position that didn't really require any foreknowledge. No, it's literally just handing out gifts and socializing with patrons, and she finds that she likes it, and I like that. It's basically outside, yes, like I said, it's outside of her comfort zone, but it's outside of her comfort zone in a way that she still knows what she's doing and can still find joy in it. And in my opinion, that works. I like that. As a result, I do like the moral of the episode. That yes, staying in your comfort zone is fine, especially if you're enjoying what you do, but there is still benefits to stepping out of your comfort zone. It's just you gotta control how far you step out of it, and if you do want to step further out, you kind of need to measure it. It needs to be on your terms. It can't be because someone told you, step out this far. It has to be on what you know and what you like to do, rather than based on what other people want you to do. So as a result, it's all just really about how comfortable you are stepping out of your comfort zone. So there you go. And so, yeah, all that stuff is good. But of course, the episode also continues adding on to the Pink Steven thing, as when Smokey was panicking, when she, like I said, when Smokey was panicking when the roller coaster was going off the rails, quite literally in that case, we saw her glowing pink again and wound up showcasing a new power. As like I said, she moved so fast that everything else was super slow in comparison. And likewise, we still learn more about these pink abilities, as like before with Jasper, they're clearly triggered by negative emotions. As before, Steven went pink because he got pissed off about what Jasper was saying about how weak and frail he was. And now here we see Smokey in a different position where she's freaking out about not being able to save these people, with Amethyst constantly with the Amethyst side of her going, "Come on, we gotta figure something out." While the Steven side is like, "No, come on, I just need time. I need time. Just give me a minute." And basically all the stress of the situation is what triggered her turning pink. So we do learn a bit more about the pink transformation and how it works, as well as seeing its range of abilities. As not only as before we saw that it just gave Steven a power up, but here it gives Smokey a speed up. So there is more to this power. Than meets the eye, and we are learning a little bit more about it as things go along. So again, it's more adding to that particular plot thread, but likewise, it's still surrounded by an honestly fun story with I think a good moral about finding yourself, learning what makes you comfortable, what makes you happy, and ultimately, while there's nothing wrong with staying in your comfort zone, there are benefits to stepping out of your comfort zone. It just has to be on your terms that you do. So again, good stuff all around. So on the whole, I think Guidance is also a pretty good episode as well. So, yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. Little Homeschool, decent beginning that helps step the status quo while laying down new plot threads for the future. And likewise, Guidance does a good job at doing more world building, while also wrapping it up with a good conflict, a good moral, some good, honestly fun carnage, some new showcasing of the pink power up, and ultimately, I think it's just a pretty good one. So, yeah, I think that's really all I have to say. I thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson. I hope to see you next week as, well, we dive into a bit of mommy issues for the good Mr. Universe. And, yeah, things aren't exactly pretty. So till then, I hope you have a good Friday, and take care.